Hello, everyone. I want to talk to you guys about Georgia. A lot of weird stuff happening over there. There have been these very violent and just vicious riots, attacking police officers, throwing Molotov cocktails, trying to storm the parliamentary building. I mean, just a lot of crazy stuff. And they're all very angry about this draft bill that would force individuals and NGOs and organizations to reveal themselves as foreign agents if they receive more than 20% of their funds from other countries, from other governments. And I really don't see what the problem with this bill is. The United States has a very, very similar law, Russia has a similar system. These rioters are saying that it's going to make Georgia more like Russia. Uh, if you have a law that says that NGOs and organizations have to identify themselves as foreign agents if they are receiving funds from abroad, if they're receiving more than 20% of their funds from abroad, and let's say you have pro-Russia NGOs, right? Because a lot of people in Georgia, they're not fans of Moscow. They hate Moscow. They hate Russia. A lot of Georgians are viciously anti-Russian. I used to think that Georgians were super gentle people and very nice people, and I'm sure a lot of them are. But man, I've heard of these Georgian mercenaries who go to Ukraine and they fight against the Russians and they enjoy torturing people. Like these guys are sadists. But let's say you have this law, right? Let's say you have this law. And, if you're an activist, or not an activist, let's say you're an NGO or you're an organization and you're getting more than 20% of your funds from abroad. Let's say you have organizations that are funded by Russia. I mean, wouldn't you want that law to be operational? Wouldn't you want that law to be imposed so that you can identify the pro-Russia NGOs and the pro-Russia organizations? So why are these guys so upset about this? Oh, it's because it would expose them. It would expose all of the NGOs that are funded by the United States. The people who support this bill are saying that it's important because it would allow them to identify the NGOs and the organizations that are dividing and polarizing the country. And a lot of Georgia's parliamentarians voted in favor of this bill. 76 parliamentarians voted in favor of this bill. 13 of them voted against it, and the rest did not vote. And there are 150 parliamentarians in the Georgian government, and so a lot of them didn't even vote, but the ones who did voted in favor of it. And if you look at these protests, if you look at the rioters, if you look at how they are acting, it's very, very reminiscent to the Maidan in Kiev in 2014. I saw this promotional video on Twitter today, and it showed these protesters, and they're waving the flag of the European Union, and they're waving the flag of Georgia, and the way that it was a marketing video, right? It was marketing, it was PR, and it was promoting the movement of these protesters. And if you look at the texture and the style in which it was filmed, very, very similar to the Maidan. They're waving the flag of the EU. I mean, they're waving the flag of Ukraine. And the reason why they're upset, it's not just because they don't want the American they don't want the NGOs that are funded by America to be revealed, right? Because America just wants to fund certain organizations and then make it out as though they're just independent parties who are in favor of their pro-Western cause. But it's not just that. It's also because if Georgia has this law, then it's going to prevent them from becoming a member of the European Union. These rioters are all pro-EU. They're all pro-EU. They're just like the Maidan rioters. And if this bill goes into effect, then it's going to prevent Georgia from becoming a member of the European Union. So these people want integration with the EU, just like the people in the Maidan riots wanted integration with the European Union. The Ukrainian government was supposed to sign a free trade agreement with the EU, and Yanukovych did not agree with it because supposedly he had made a deal with the Russians, and so this angered a whole bunch of people, and all these rioters popped up in Kiev, and there was a revolution, and Yanukovych had to flee Ukraine. The man is still living in exile. The guy is still living in exile. It's very similar. People in the Maidan wanted integration with the EU. People in Georgia, these rioters in Georgia, they want integration with the European Union. And now I have heard the opinion that these rioters are not going to succeed, that the police have done an efficient job in suppressing them. But let's say that one day Georgia has a revolution. Right, let's say, because right now the Georgian government is not anti-Russia. It's not pro-Russia either. But Georgia is just having commercial relations with Russia, making money with the Russians, doing things that are to the interest of the Georgian people, and to the interest of the Georgian economy, which ultimately benefits the people. But let's say you have a revolution and the government is ousted, and you have an extremely anti-Russian government. What would happen? What would happen is the Georgian government would go to war with the two pro-Russia provinces within its borders, South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Remember, back in 2008, Russia invaded Georgia to defend these two provinces. These two provinces are pro-Russia. They did not want to integrate with Tbilisi, and the Tbilisi government went to war with South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Georgia was then invaded by Russia, who invaded the country to defend these two provinces, just like Russia invaded Ukraine to defend Luhansk and Donetsk, two pro-Russian regions. Two very, very similar situations. And Russia hesitated. Russia did not want to go to war with Ukraine. The war was going on for years, beginning in 2014, and in 2022, Russia decides to invade Ukraine to defend these two provinces. Russia declared Donetsk and Luhansk as being independent states. Russia recognizes South Ossetia and Abkhazia as independent states. If the Georgian government decides to go to war with those two provinces again, what's going to happen? Russia would be put into a situation where if it does not go to war with Georgia, then it is defeated, or not defeated, it's overpowered, or it's being pushed around by NATO in a sphere that it considers its own. Russia considers South Ossetia and Abkhazia as part of its sphere. So if Georgia goes to war with these two provinces, Russia does not go to war with Georgia to defend those two provinces, it would make Russia look weak. Russia would then be put into a position where it would have to go to war with Georgia, or else it would appear as weak, it would appear as being overpowered by NATO, and it would appear as being unable to defend its own sphere. So this is what I'm thinking about when I'm looking at this situation in Georgia. I really don't care about what these rioters want. I'm looking at the potential mess that could manifest itself as a result of this. These people are obviously NGOs. These people are obviously activists. The situation is too similar to the Maidan to think that it's all just a coincidence, and that NATO has no influence in this, or that the EU has no influence in this. I think it's safe to say that this does have the footprint of the European Union. It does have the footprint of NATO. It does have the footprint of influences from these two major entities. So it's very, very similar to the Maidan situation. And I think that if there is a revolution in Georgia, there would be a civil war in Georgia between the Tbilisi government and the pro-Russian provinces. I think that would be the eventual outcome of it. And then Russia would be put into a situation where if it doesn't go to war, then it looks like it's being pushed around out of its own sphere. So it's a very dangerous situation. It's a very capricious situation. And if you look at, if you look at the Georgian population, I mean, there are a lot of Georgians who have no interest in going to war with Russia. They have no interest in putting sanctions on Russia because that would hurt their economy. At the same time, there are plenty of Georgians who want war with Russia, either through sanctions or either through actual military conflict. They are those Georgians who exist. So it's a very divided population, it seems, and the situation looks capricious. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.